All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We're just a bunch of Kiss fans and we talk Kiss. So come along for the ride. You've got nothing to lose. All right, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. I'm out of focus and I'm unfocused. So what's new? We got Lonnie St. Louis Kiss.
What's up?
Daniel Wheeze. What's your hat, Daniel? Have a nice day. Have a nice day. Marcus Almighty, Mark.
Greetings.
69th Blizzard, Ken. We got a few topics to talk about today. Just this and that. This week, the final installment of Ace World dropped, and it was Catch Me When I Fall, audio video. That's all I've done for now. I may revisit in the future to do additional installments, but I got a whole bunch of members-only Kiss song stories to share as well. So I'm going to start dropping those, and there's new video out for, a couple topics from the board. Start doing those a little bit more often on the YouTube channel as we continue to try and see if the community's alive out there. So today's topics are, just a bit of current affairs. I mean, for a band that's essentially supposed to be retired, it seems to be a unending stream of stuff happening. I think one of the most recent things to happen this week was the drop of new merchandise around the Flaming Youth theme. They went as far as to creating that rather nice. I like that graphic, by the way.
Yeah,
it reminds me of the Australian 1980 marionettes, like little mobiles that you could buy. So there was the four-way penis holder. Cigar holder.
Easy.
I call it a paperweight.
A paperweight. I'm sorry, a bukkake cup. So
that's a little small.
It's a little small.
Ooh, for Ken. It's too small for Ken. Yeah.
Scale is everything, and in the eye of the beholder there. So they did the ashtray. So for all the anti-smoking, anti-drinking stuff, we'll still take your money, of course. They did do I think this is just lazy as a design, but I do love the imagery.
That's
great
like
photos.
Homemade t-shirt.
Yeah,
it's a great homemade t-shirt.
Such sharp corners there.
Yeah, it looks like you made it at the mall or something,
Yeah.
What would you like on your shirt? Special. Here, I upload this to you. Yeah, can you put those on my shirt?
Yeah, can you put this picture on a t-shirt? Oh, sure. It's like what's
I do love that poster. They had that in Singapore, and while this looks a little bit like Etsy with Dior pricing, hey, maybe someone will be happy with that purchase. I do like this next item, another forest fire starter. I always loved brass Zippos back when I smoked, and I still have my Zippos. One was stolen from a drunk sailor in a drinking competition in Singapore, HMS Cardiff on it. And the other is, he lost the game, so there we go.
Wow.
The other was a Marlboro brass one. I don't smoke. I haven't smoked for 20 years. So
good for you. Good for you.
Get your Zippo.
You getting the Flaming Youth vinyl? Are you going to get it? Yeah.
So they've got a T-shirt and vinyls combo.
We have to buy it together.
Yeah. Again, now they're riffing off the, and I say riffing, not ripping. Yeah. I mean, I love the Japanese overlay designs. They're absolutely glorious, as Bob Ezrin would say.
Yeah.
And I like how they're doing something different with the vinyl. I'm not a fan of those gold riffs on the Bogart Blue Label because the Blue Label was just iconic. But again, they're shaking it up and making them look different.
For the 50th anniversary gold,
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of neat. All right, Lonnie, start with you on all that merch offering. Any of those grab your attention, and what's your thoughts on them?
I like the vinyl. It looks cool, but I don't need. I'm just tired of being. You got to buy the shirt too. I have so many Kiss shirts that I never wear. You know, I don't need another Kiss shirt, and I think most of the Kiss Army kind of feels the same way. So I don't know. It all looks great, but did I buy anything this week? No.
Well, there you go.
You live to die another week. In other words,
right?
Daniel, what about you?
I kind of like the sip, the lighter there as well. But I don't smoke either. I don't know what, but I can use it when I go out of my, out in the forest hunting and killing animals. It's good to have a good sip, a good lighter if it gets cold, one that works well. So I might get that one. Otherwise, I go with I don't know what you call this in America, snuff. That's good tobacco.
Yeah. Snuff. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Snuff. Mark, any of those grab your eye?
Nah, not really. I mean, the 45 looks nice, and it's like you, I like the Japanese design that they do with those things. They look really good. But I mean, I don't need yet another single again. I mean, I have enough Kiss stuff that way. I mean, I want something different, like totally different. But chances of that happening are probably slim.
Like this.
Yeah, well, how many different
No,
ways?
not really that. I can imagine just there being a puncture or something happening over time and not starting to leak. Oh boy.
What do you say about my T-shirt then? Have you seen? I like this one.
No, that's cool. I like that.
Oh yeah, cassette tapes.
Classic cassettes from Kiss.
That I'm into. I love it.
They make coffee mugs with that on it too.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Looks cool.
Very nice. All right, Ken. So you did get the spinning vinyl, or the the septic tank vinyl?
10W, 40, whatever it is.
The peanut butter and chocolate sauce, or the aftermath of a bad curry.
The Reese's.
I watched that episode.
I don't know. It plays nice though. Actually, it sounds like a normal record. It doesn't sound like a picture disc. It's a regular. So when I spun it, it was fine. Perfectly fine. Sounded great. So no problems with that. But I'm not going to get that new. Again, I would have bought it. I would have bought it had they had no T-shirt. But they lost.
And I would have bought the Shout Out Loud too.
Yeah. So
they strong arm you.
But what about Ken? If they release a bigger penis holder, maybe you can get one of those.
I said I might use it as a paperweight, that cigar holder. So, maybe. Who knows?
All right. So the new merch is there. If you're on Kiss Online, you will have gotten an email for it. Again, sign up for the free accounts. You don't have to become a VIP by joining the Army. There are benefits to joining the Army, of course. Read the documentation on the website. But if not, you will at least get the notifications of merch. There's no rule that says that you have to purchase any of this crap. Not that it's crap. To me, I'm not interested, but others, it will bring them joy. And everyone knows what I think about merch by this point. So, All right, what else has happened this week? Stanley Simmons played their first ever live show. I think it's San Diego. They're doing 4 dates down south. So video did pop up on YouTube. As much as I keep moving these topics out of general Kiss discussion, I'm losing that battle. I think we're just going to be forced to talk about Evan and Nick's project as part of the Kiss experience, for better or worse. And while I try and segregate it, I think Paul Stanley did a great job on Twitter this week of really taking on the trolls who are really, bashing his son and Nick and calling them, talentless Nepo babies who haven't paid their dues. And Paul absolutely ripped someone. And I loved it because you stick up for your family and you stick up for art. And I absolutely agree with Paul on his take on that Evan and Nick are actually putting together and doing the work to try and present the music that they want to present. They're not catering to anyone. They're not going to succeed because Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons are their parents. They actually are more likely to fail because of being aligned with that badge. So again, they're working hard. Did, Amber Wild succeed because of the opening slot that they were given or Evan's charisma as a frontman. And again, I sang the praises of Evan Stanley after that Hollywood Bowl show that I attended. So I actually had a kick checking out. I wanted to see how they did these songs live. While they're not really to my taste in some senses, they do, run a spectrum of different sounds, from the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young type harmonies, a little bit of Simon and Garfunkel thrown in, Neil Young, and just rock and roll music, man. I'll take some rock and roll and listen to it, whether I buy the album or not, doesn't really matter. But I wanted to see how they did live. And Evan is such a natural, really he's enjoyable to watch. Nick is awkward as heck. He's like his father circa 1983, first time out of makeup, doesn't know what the heck to do on stage. But I think he'll find himself. And I think some of the stuff that he's done with Symferna or whatever, Symfera, whatever his ambient kind of trancey EDM band was prior, hasn't exactly lended itself to him being a front man, and they'll find and develop those roles. So Lonnie, let's start with you. Why, you still catching up on those videos in the background?
No, I'm good. No.
Oh,
He did do his homework.
Or were you measuring for an ashtray?
sneaky.
Yeah. All good. No, I think it's cool, that they're doing this, and I agree with Julian that I think they're actually more likely to not get, recognition because of who they are, and they're more likely for a lot of the general population just to roll their eyes at it, like, oh, whatever, most type of thing. But I think it's cool what they're doing. I do agree with you that Nick, is a little awkward on stage, and Evan just seems, a little more like a natural. So, I think it's fun. I think it's cool what they're doing. Am I losing my mind over it? No, but I think it's cool, and we'll just see how it goes and see where it takes them. But I think it's great, but I'm not like crazy over it at the same time,
Yeah, that's not even a deadpan answer. That's just a statement of fact, really. Ken, what about you? I mean, are you now going to be wearing a Simmons Stanley t-shirt the next time we see you?
Well, I'm not buying any t-shirt yet, but
anti-t-shirts.
I will probably buy
their vinyl album will only come packaged with a t-shirt.
Oh yeah, I'll have to do it, right?
Yeah, Ken, you'd be a big hypocrite if you said, "Oh yeah, but I'm going to buy a t-shirt."
I will buy their music. I enjoy the songs that they've put out so far. I like all types of music, so I enjoyed it. So I hope the rest of the album is pretty good, and there's some more rocking songs on there. Like that one that would rock pretty good. So yeah, I'm interested. I don't have a big problem with them being the Suns or anything. Yes, Nick, he needs to maybe get bass lessons or something from Gene and become the bassist or something like that instead. And I know they have a bassist, or something. He needs an instrument in his hand. Because it just looks uncomfortable. Yeah. Because he's not if he was the solo lead guy of a band, then that's fine, and then he can do whatever he wants with a microphone and Robert Plant, whatever, that kind of thing. But he's not, because Evan is the other leader, and so you can't really do that. So he needs something. He needs something to. I don't know. Otherwise, he looks more like a backup singer in a way.
Right. Harmonica,
tambourine.
He needs a real
tambourine,
or sit down at the keyboards the whole time or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that would actually go very well, Lottie. A tambourine, see him to give him something to do with that nervous energy. Because when he's holding the mic, he looks shy. And let's go to Mark, because Mark knows more about this kind of stuff than all of us.
Well, I mean, we got to remember this is, their first live show that they're doing. And I mean, you got to give them some time to develop it. I mean, right away, they did all the things that most seasoned bands would shake their heads and go, what the hell are they doing? Like, first of all, Nick comes up on stage and the first thing he does is like, hi, everybody. I want to thank my mom. And like, that's what you get the vibe when you see him come up on stage waving like that. It looks so dorky. I mean, and second of all, none of them look like musicians. They all look like they just dressed at home and came on stage. There's no stage sort of appeal to them at all. They have to have some sort of, stage wear. This is not stage wear what they were wearing. They look like just like something they just put on this morning and walked out on stage with. But like I said, this is new to them. This is still new. They have to figure it out. The performances of the songs were actually pretty good. I thought they played pretty well. Evan was good on guitar. Nick was pretty strong on the vocals, as was Evan. They were pretty good. But, again, they have to work some stuff out. I mean, Evan, when he was soloing, he got into it and that was really good. But he has to watch that. Sometimes he had to put a couple of skunker notes in there. But that happens when you're trying to get into it, right? This is all going to come with time doing it, right? So I think right now we have to kind of take it with a pinch of salt because they have to find their footing. Does Nick need a tambourine? Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe give him something to focus on in between. There is a keyboard stage right to him. Maybe he can sit down and play some stuff in there as well. Why not? I mean, it's not gonna take away from the show. I mean, it'll probably certainly be better than him just standing there and going, just looking around, like, not knowing what to do, right? So put him behind the keyboard for a bit. I think it's a good idea. I mean, look at Elton John made a whole career sitting behind a damn piano. I mean, he doesn't have to do that, but there are options. I think at this point, what they should do is take a page from their father's career, film it. Now you have it all on film here. Go back, watch it. Take the stuff that wasn't good, fix that, and then take it one step at a time. It'll come as long as they keep working on it.
Yeah.
I like the comment from Chris Flood. He's 6'8". Of course, he's going to look like a dork. So yeah. I mean, he's gangly. He is what he is. So again, I don't agree with the stage look comment because I think it was deliberately casual for a reason, and I don't think they're trying to be the Four Tops wearing a nice matching suits in the background and working on choreography. Well, I don't know. I don't think I don't think they're thinking that far ahead, other than road testing some of these songs and getting out there as a unit. So, down the road, I think if they were to get on a package tour rather than playing San Capistrano or whatever in San Diego and those sorts of venues, I think then the dynamic changes, and then you start thinking more about how do you look on stage. But a very competent backing group. I didn't have any criticisms like I did with Amber Wild of some of the antics by those guys. It was just very workmanlike, very non-flashy, very here's our music, judges on our music, not by our costumes or our stage show. There was no pyro, no spitting blood. It was just very matter-of-factly, here's the music. And I like that.
It's a smaller club too, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry to keep you waiting, Daniel, with another monologue.
Keep me waiting.
Yeah, but you're the monologuer, so it's okay. Well, actually, both these guys remind me of their fathers a bit too much, and I think that's the problem. I mean, it's like looking at a young Paul Stanley and a young Gene Simmons, and we've been watching these guys for decades, so I recognize everything from Evan Stanley's thin wrists to his broad shoulders. I mean, that's Paul Stanley, and visually Nick has those pale, thin, long arms, just like Gene has. So they're so similar. So you can't stop yourself from thinking of Gene and Paul, and that's some heavy competition, some tough competition to go up against. So
it's genetics.
I think. Yeah, that's genetics, but you can't go. There's no way around comparing them to their parents, and that's the problem, and that will always be the problem, and that is why they will ultimately fail, of course, with this band. Sorry to say,
wow.
But, there's no way they can manage to top their parents. So unfortunately, there will never become anything big of this band, even though they're
2.0.
No.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to go.
Mark.
That's the way to go. You wait.
It's not going to happen.
But I kind of liked how they translated the music live, or sort of changed some of the stuff. I like that song "Body Down." I thought was kind of cool, and I also enjoyed his guitar solo on that song. I think that was a pretty good song. So the material, I didn't care for the videos they released with those hippie, flower power,
psychedelic.
Not my kind of thing, trying to look like something out of the 60s, a few decades too late. No balls in the video, nothing, almost like.
I don't want to look at any balls in a video. What videos are you watching?
Well, they sing well, they play well, but the single they released, it's almost like a lullaby. You fall asleep watching and listening to it. So
Wow.
that's no good. So fortunately, this will go nowhere. I'd rather watch a Kiss cover band.
To each their own. It's kind of interesting that I started off from an indifferent position, and I watched all of those videos that popped up in that thread started by Ken. So again, I'm not that interested in it. Come on, 2 Stone songs dropped this week, and that really had me more excited. Joe Elliott talking about 28 songs, written for a Def Leppard album for next year, got me excited.
Get Mutt back.
Foo Fighters hitting the road got me excited. So again, I don't need new music when I've got lots of old music or new music from old oldies.
New old music.
Yeah, new old music. Yeah, so there we go. But it'll be interesting to watch. And I'm less worried about it polluting the general discussion, because it's actually quite entertaining seeing what other people are getting out of this with so much going on. Let's move on to one of the other topics that kind of hit this week. And it didn't hit this week. I did a video on this separately about Kiss making new music. And Gene talked about it in April. So it's hardly something coming out of left field. And it's also, I think, something that we always spoke about in relation to the avatars, especially married with ABBA Voyage, is that Kiss have apparently recorded a new Paul Stanley song. Ken, thoughts on new music from Kiss? What you would like, what you expect, and what you think you'll probably get in the end?
Well, Gene Simmons said that they recorded a song, a Paul Stanley written song, which is fine. Paul Stanley can write, great Kiss songs. And so I thought, okay. And then I heard something else that they might have done too. So maybe they did a Paul song and a Gene song. I'm hoping. Anyway, I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping that definitely Gene sings. I don't know about the Paul. They can do all kinds of things in the studio now. I think his voice would be okay. They can do a bunch of takes, even, they can do whatever they want. As long as they don't use an obvious kind of auto-tune kind of thing where you can see it. I don't want to hear that kind of stuff happening. And if that happens, it's going to be like, oh, no, don't do that, But I'm fine. I think it's going to be better than whatever they do is going to be better than Monsters songs. So
wow,
because I don't want them going out on as Monster being the last album. I mean, I hope they do a full album. We're only hearing about 1 or 2 songs. I'm hoping they do a full album, just like the ABBA one that happened. Yeah. I think they need to do it that way, and the sooner the better. I mean, I don't want them to wait till 28 to release it with that. I'd like them to have it ready and out there in anticipation then for the avatars or something like that. But
do a stream of singles, and
you can slowly release it. You can slowly release it.
Yeah, I talked about it in the video that I thought Paul Stanley, when he sang that one verse at the Indie Expo, actually sounded pretty good and pretty authentic, and pretty credible. So if it takes him a few days or a few weeks to get Paul through a song in that it sounds credible, and then they can work on it, I'm just afraid finishing off Body and Soul, and that's the new Paul Stanley song
No.
for the Avatars. Laid down some backing vocals was what we meant by recorded a new Paul Stanley song. God help us, Lonnie.
Oh, I hope that's not true. But I like the idea. I think it. I hope they don't. I don't think they're gonna. I don't know, but I think it'd be strange that you're recording it now, and we're gonna wait until 28 to release it. What's the point of recording it now if we're gonna wait till 28? Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's being optimistic and hoping that we get something sooner than later. And maybe they'll start using it in 27 to start promoting the upcoming Avatars. But I don't know if it's going to be. I doubt that we get a full album. I bet we get a single or two. Kind of like the way, and I'm not a fan of these songs, but kind of like the way Guns N' Roses has put out just these Chinese democracy leftovers, and like, oh, here's a song or two, here's a song or two. I agree, and I'm a big GNR guy, but I agree, but I don't think we're going to get a full album. I think we might get a Gene song and a Paul song, something to try to start promoting things in 27. And I'm here for it though, but I really cringe at the Body and Soul idea. And think about that. And Julian, you really have my dauber down right now.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised if Lonnie's right and we get something like Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits or Kiss Killers with maybe here's the greatest hits that are going to be core to the first stories told in the Avatars and a new song. So that's going to be your only way to get it. But again, we don't have any inside information on any of this. This is just spitball. And Ken, nice background. I like that. You pushing me to move on to the next topic?
Ken's bored with this topic.
You're muted.
He's muted.
He's muted.
Sorry, but it's Mark's or Daniel's turn actually, because you already asked me.
Did I? I can't remember. Yeah. It was your colorful
only 2 minutes
background
ago.
blinded me.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm a goldfish. Daniel.
Well, I'm just hoping they won't focus too much on the Avatars and trying to create lyrics that tie into the Avatar thing. I just want a rock and roll tune from Kiss, like back in the day. And I have to disagree somewhat to the monster comment from Ken. I think Paul Stanley managed to do one or two actually kind of great songs for those 2 final albums. I really liked Modern Day Delilah on Sonic Boom. And I enjoyed Hell or Hallelujah on the final album. So if we can do something in that vein, I will be over the moon. I think that would be great. And I think, like Julian said, if it takes its time, maybe a week, maybe a month, and sings first, he can sing the intro, and the next week he can do the first verse and so on. I think it can sound really good on a song like that. So I'm just hoping that it won't be about, sort of like they did for The Elder, trying to make songs that fit the theme. It didn't work for me at all. So I'm just hoping for a rock and roll tune from Paul Stanley, and hopefully Gene can do something in the vein of, I don't know, something a bit more heavy. I would like to see from him, like from the demon character. But we'll see what happens. I'm on Lonnie's side there. I think they will release like two songs.
I'm not worried about writing for themes, Daniel. If the theme makes sense, the Elder theme did not make sense, so the resulting stuff didn't work. But if they've got something that actually works and they're writing towards it, I pledge allegiance to the state of rock and roll. There's a lot of themes about the Kiss show and the Kiss lifestyle that are in Paul Stanley compositions. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the recording end of things, being so involved in technology of recording and keeping myself abreast of the latest things that are coming out and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can assist people who are having troubles this time in their career, especially to make like a live album, like a studio album. But live is a different story, obviously, but they don't have to worry about that. This is just a studio situation. And, like you guys said, they could do, a line here, a line there, work on it. I mean, even back in the day when Motley Crue did Dr. Feelgood, I mean, there's a great story by Bob Rock saying how he literally had to do that whole album with Vince Neil, literally line by line, almost sometimes word by word, to get it perfectly done, right? So, but now you don't need to do that as much because you can correct stuff a lot easier and make it sound more natural than it did when the technology first came out. The only thing is, how good are the songs going to be? Because you can have all the technology in the world to make this stuff sound great, but if you don't have a good song, then now you're going to make a squat of difference. I know you guys brought up the ABBA album that came out, and that was actually surprisingly really good record. But the main problem here is that, and I know I might get tomatoes thrown at me for saying this, but ABBA are just generally better songwriters, those guys, than Kiss are. You know, they just write better together as a unit, and you know, for their type of music, they know exactly what to do to make a strong ABBA record. Now, Kiss knows what it takes to make good songs too, but they have to find that place again, I think, to put out some decent songs. You know what I mean? Hopefully they work in unison more than doing stuff separately. Some of the songs I've always enjoyed had more of a involvement with them together, right? You know, whether they were doing like Shout It Out Loud, where they had like, you know, vocals going back and forth and stuff like that. I always kind of enjoyed those kind of songs. So hopefully they find a strong stream of song ideas. Like they said, they don't really have that much pressure from a record label to get something out, you know, by next month or anything like that. So they can really sit down and work on stuff that they think is strong. But I also think it wouldn't harm them totally if they had like some outside input from somebody, not, you know, like Jim
Andreas
Valens,
Carlson,
but somebody that can keep them on track. You know, well, Vinnie Vincent, please. There's somebody that can keep them on track with something that'll be, you know, proper to the sort of old school thing. You guys are going too old all the time. Forget all these old fossil guys. You got to bring somebody in a little bit more
Paul
newer.
Stanley's going to produce it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the problem with the whole thing.
Hang on, let me just finish here. I'm just saying that the problem is that is the problem, because if Paul puts it in his lap, we're just going to get the same stale stuff that he did before on Monster and those other songs. Look at what the Stones did. They brought in a much younger producer guy, and the last couple of things that they've done were much stronger than they did anything before that. Not far back, but the last ones before it, you know. So bring somebody in a little bit younger just to kind of remind them of stuff. Rush did the same thing with Nick Raskulinich or whatever his name is. He was a huge Rush fan. He was kind of like, you know what would be cool, guys, if he did this and this and this. He didn't force them to do it, but he kind of brought them back to that mindset. So maybe that'd be cool for Kiss to do.
Yeah, maybe use the same producer that's producing Stanley Simmons.
Yeah, he's a pretty well-known producer, but I don't know if he's the right one.
I get the feeling it's just a contractual obligation. I think this is part of the Pop House deal. They're not recording new music because they want to record new music. I think that because so much of the Kiss avatars is tied in with, I think it's the Voyage, model. That is the model that Pop House had. And that is what they keep telling us about telling stories and this and that. So I don't think there's much original, thought coming out of that. I think there are probably parameters that are being defined by Pop House, but ABBA was writing for a different market. It's a much broader market for the Voyage album that received that mark. And as we know from doing that podcast episode discussing that album was not exactly a commercial success. It did 2.5 million copies worldwide, had a lot of high charting and drop-offs like everything else seems to this day, other than the stuff that's pimped by corporate interests. But it did 200,000 copies in the U.S.
That all did in the U.S.?
Yeah, big whoop. So again, it's down to market and region and where your target market is as to what's going to happen with it. So
you mean the ABBA? Sorry, you mean the ABBA only sold 200,000? Well, they were never huge, really. Europe was always their bigger market, anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah, the rest of the world. Yeah.
That's the point I'm making, in that it's all going to be down to those specific markets where Kiss, was supposedly big. But look how Monster did. Look how Sonic Boom did. Look how Psycho Circus did. Look how MTV Unplugged You Wanted the Best Alive 3, Revenge, Hot in the Shade. You have to go all the way back to Crazy Nights.
You wanted the best.
So what is Pop House thinking they're going to get out of this? This is just disposable music that's being made to go along with a story. It's filler, but I can't wait to hear it.
It's going to bring back. It's going to bring back rock and roll. It's going to save rock and roll.
That's a depressing.
Maybe that's the title.
What?
Maybe not all those albums backwards.
Wait, what?
Sorry, we were both talking at the same
time. Go ahead. Lonnie, say it.
That's a depressing stat you just brought up, Julian. And he said, look at Monster, look at Sonic Boom, look at Psycho Circus. Like, man, that's depressing. I guess you really got to go back to Smashes, which was a greatest hits album.
Double platinum.
Well, going backwards to Smashes, I think they had
it was a double platinum in America. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah, Smashes sold really well. You really have to go back to Smashes for an album that really sold well. That's depressing.
Well,
Crazy Nights
of the charts.
Yeah, but it dropped like a rock.
Yeah, it always does with older bands, doesn't it?
It still hasn't gone gold. So again, we're not worrying about that stuff. Crazy Nights was a great seller worldwide, but it missed the mark where it needed to hit the mark. So they really didn't care about a chart success in the UK. That wasn't translating into dollars. But again, both that and Smashes, I think, did help them get that nice new contract with Polygram for what it's worth. All right, let's move on. We'll have to wait and see. But I think at least they're doing something. But it just seems that everything's kind of stretching out now. 2027 was supposed to be Avatars. Now it's 2028. They're going to get there and be so far behind the curve by the time they get there, always chasing their tails, which is my concern. Let's move on to, let me just make sure that I've actually hit all our topics because I'm an idiot.
You did.
That's a free ad. Apologies for the cropping, but when social media gurus think that 16:9 is the only orientation that you can use for your multimedia, I have to crop it to try and make it fit in a normal widescreen. So it's announced now. All the details are out. Unlike last year, Kiss Cruise is returning for its second Landlock installment in Las Vegas because the Las Vegas economy is still slaughtered and dirt cheap. I am adamant that is part of the reason why Vegas is the pick, because it's certainly not for convenience for a lot of people. And they've announced the full lineup. So Kiss is fully embracing cashing in on Ace Frehley now that he's gone, and I'd love to know what folk think about that after everything they said about Ace Frehley in the last 10 years. And I know Ace didn't help his own case with some of the things he said either. But certainly now that there's an opportunity to put it in bold letters larger than the name of the members of Kiss, just ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Lonnie, you're going to go to Vegas knowing now what you know in advance?
No.
No.
Ooh, venomous.
That sounded insulted. He was insulted. Asked that.
No, I'm not going. It looks fun, and I've had fun with the recent Kiss, things that I've done recently with the Peter and with the Peter thing in Knoxville and going to the Indie Expo. I've had a lot of fun at those events. But it's not for me. I mean, well, everybody knows I have other priorities that start in September, and I more than likely am going to be out of town that weekend anyway. And and even if it wasn't for that, I don't know. Maybe I don't know, but it's not for me. And if it is for you, great. I'm not going to tell. My wife chimes in. I'm not going to tell anyone how to spend their money. I'm not going to tell anyone how to spend their money. If that's what you want to do, that's great. And I'm sure the people who are going to go are going to have a lot of fun. And the bands that they're going to have there, I'm sure are going to be great, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun for everybody who goes. But it's not for me. I got to see him for the last time with my brother at the same place I saw him for the first time with my brother, and I want to leave it at that.
Smart.
Yeah, I could hear the tone of Mrs. Lonnie. I could hear the adamancy, and I could hear the fist hitting the table as the exclamation point unspoken.
Whatever. She's thinking football too. She's like, no, it's in the middle of football season. We can't do that.
I know. I see both of you, when it's football season. So, it's unfortunate for you that the team that you support means that your football tickets come with therapy coupons. But there we are. Ken, any interest? And then we're going to get into some of the specifics afterwards.
For about an hour or two, I was really contemplating buying a ticket.
Really? Oh.
But then reality hit. It's more about the fact that I'd love to be there to see that, and I'd love to hang out with the other fans and stuff like that. But when you retire, you gotta be careful of how you spend your
pennies
money. And then there's other things that come up, or things that you need to have expenditures on, and plus the other KISS stuff that they're going to release anyway, later in the year. So I can't do it all. It's just not possible. But yeah, I would love to. I've seen KISS. I've attended many KISS events throughout the years. So since '79, a lot of great events, a lot of things I've done. And I'm happy the way I ended it at the Shoreline Amphitheater on the end of the road, at front row, right in front, and getting drumsticks and all that kind of stuff at that show. So I'm all good. I've met them. I've done all that kind of stuff. So it's not as big of a deal. Yes, I'm a huge KISS fan, big KISS fan. I buy a bunch of junk and other stuff, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. Though it looks like it's going to be, a good time and fun. I'm sure it will be. Whoever goes is going to have a great time. I would have a great time if I went. I know I would have a great time. So nothing about that. It's more financial choice for me.
Mark,
not interested in going. I mean, much like Lonnie, I think the last time I saw them, I had still a fond memory of that show. It wasn't yet on the off the rails sort of, singing that happened later. So I have good memories of all my KISS shows that I've gone to, and I'd like to leave it on that note as well. And the interesting thing I find about this too is that a lot of my friends that I talk to on other podcasts and other streams that I do, they love these kind of things, and they went on a few of these KISS cruises before, and that's one of the things that I've been hearing from these people that they don't like, is that they like the cruise bit. This whole landlocked thing, they checked out. They're like, hard pass when that happened, because they enjoyed the actual cruise bit of it, being away, having it almost like a second vacation. Because to them, they think that this is just like, what's the appeal of it? I mean, sure, you get to see all these things, as you would on the cruise, but the cruise just was like a kind of added icing to the cake, which is kind of lacking to them, right? Maybe not to other people, but I'm kind of starting to hear that from other people as well, which is interesting about that. But, I don't know, like a lot of the bands though are sort of, the ones that you usually expect on here too, and stuff like that. So there's no real surprises on this. The surprises are long gone on this,
Yeah, I'm done choking. Pardon me.
Daniel, go.
Look kind of funny, at least when you did that. Okay.
No,
yeah. Sorry to hear that, but I think if you're in the vicinity of Las Vegas, you have to go to this thing. I think it will be a great party. I think you will enjoy the other Kiss fans. And I mean, go see Bruce Kulick in 2 Kiss shows. I'm not so worried. If I lived somewhere in the vicinity of Vegas, I would surely go. I'm going to other Swedish conventions over here, Kiss conventions, so to speak. But I love these kind of things because I like to meet people. I like to talk to people. I like to talk about music. So it's right up my alley. And I always loved Bruce Kulick's live set during the cruises and last time around. So I would surely enjoy that. And the Ace Frehley All-Star tribute. Wow, that will be cool as well. I don't know about the pricing. I have no clue what it costs, but if it's too expensive, of course, it might not be worth it. But I'm not too worried about this thing that a lot of you mentioned that, well, the last time I saw Kiss was good, so I'm afraid of seeing them again. That will destroy my memories of Kiss. I'm not. If I see a bad Kiss show, I still remember the good experiences. I wouldn't be too worried about that. I think they'll sound good enough, So yeah, good enough. I mean, a bad Kiss show is better than a whole lot of other shows. I mean, I'd rather see a bad Kiss show than the Stanley Simmons thing that we talked about earlier. So no problem there. I mean, there's really no competition. I'm encouraging everybody now we see the pricing. Okay, I can see why some people.
That's not. That's without flight. That's without that airline.
Yeah, okay. I understand that some people might have second thoughts.
Now it's clear.
Now it's clear.
Like I said, financial decisions. So.
Yeah. So the pricing is ludicrous for me. I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't be able to justify that $6,000 to get the sound check. I mean, that to me is not worth it. So I'm not going.
No,
again, that's all it is, and it's fine for other people, and they are going.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong. I'm actually very happy that they've gotten rid of the acoustic and replaced it with 2 electric shows. Yeah. I think that's a fantastic change. Again, I like that much more. I find it much more appealing, unless they play the same damn core set at both of those. If it's to do something like Metallica has done on its 72 seasons, back-to-back tour, and you get much more of the catalog represented. I don't care if it's Calling Dr. Love in one show, Deuce in another. If you're getting all of these songs combined, whether they're what we describe as deep cuts versus great catalog songs, again, I think that's fantastic. I don't think we'll see too many more occurrences where you'll see Tomorrow and Tonight, or Is That You, or The Oath, perhaps, all in one show. So again, that's great. You get a photo with Kiss Unmasked. I think a lot of people will be happy that the photo is again part of the package, and that's a very hard process for these guys at their ages, at least for Gene and Paul. Keep them on their feet all day. You need those Skechers on for comfort. So again, I don't see it as a ripoff. I just don't see it as fiscally responsible for me when I have other travel internationally that I have to do, with family. So it's about priorities for me. The activities have become cookie cutter for my tastes, and I'll just go back to that one again. You've got the Q&A artist panels, and we kind of saw that in Indianapolis, where Paul did 2 Q&As, and one was pretty good and the other one was mediocre. So the panels, how many more questions can you ask these guys that haven't been asked before? And I know a lot of it is about letting a person be empowered to ask that question that they've never asked the panelists, and that's a very nice thing, and it's a meaningful gesture. But for the artist, it's like roll their eyes back into their heads, like, holy shit, you're asking me this again? And they don't care that it's that person's. It's just an automatic reaction.
How many podcasts can you do on Kiss? Well, at least well over 500. So there's a lot of questions to be asked. We all know that.
There are, but our answers aren't rehearsed to the point where we say the same thing every episode. And unfortunately, after a lifetime in rock and roll, it's just a natural part of it for those answers to become pre-canned and delivered.
Julian, do you think you could do it in another way? Sort of, look at the questions and pick the best ones somehow.
I'm not paid to do their thinking for them, so I will keep any of those ideas to myself. Again, they've got a brain trust behind them. Put that brain trust to use. I mean, you get all these experts and opinions. Ask them those questions. Don't ask me. I'm not part of that clique. How do you reinvigorate this stuff in a way that the ownership approves? Again, there's other parties that have to agree to changes in dynamics. Ask Doc. No, thank you. Kiss karaoke, artist meet and greets. Okay, that's for all the other bands that are there. Merch store, Wentworth Gallery. It's just like the cruise. Yeah. Again, the panels can be good. You saw that with Jeff Fuhrer last time around. Eddie Kramer, Bob Ezrin could be good, if enough time is given to them to asking, what I want answered. So again, let's go through the bands. Night Ranger, Bruce Kulick, Slaughter, and all those. What's your take on these bands, Lonnie? Are they enough, do you think, to really get people to drop 6,000 clams?
I don't think somebody who's on the fence is going to say, "Oh, I'm going to go because Slaughter and Faster Pussycat are going to be there." I don't think that's what's going to, I think that's great that they're going to be there as well. But I don't think that's going to get someone off the fence to go. The Bruce thing will be cool. With Todd and Brent backing him up and doing the things that they do when they perform with him. I think that'll be fun. But and nothing against Slaughter or Faster Pussycat or any of these other bands, but I don't think that's something that's gonna just push someone over the top. They're gonna go because they want to see Gene, Paul, Tommy, and Eric if they're gonna go. And all that other stuff and all the Q&As and everything else below where it says Kiss and Gene, Paul, Tommy, and Eric is all extra. You're going to go because you want to see that.
And the one other thing too is the Bruce Kulick thing. I'm a Bruce guy. I love Bruce, and I thought that his stuff has always been the strongest parts of this. But unfortunately, Bruce's set list is from a segment of time that wasn't very long as far as albums. There's 4, 5, 6 albums, and he's probably went through pretty much almost all of those songs, or probably near most of them. It's going to start getting to the point now where it's going to, how to make those same songs have the, appeal that'll bring people back to it. Because at first we were going there when they first did it because they never played it. So he was our only outlet for it. But now every time you go and see Bruce, it's those songs, So I don't know. Hopefully there's some, he thinks of a new, medley or something, some way to razzmatazz them a bit to make them more, appealing again.
The Ace Frehley tribute, and the Ace Frehley band is a high point for me. Again, last year, the pre-party, it was a high point. Having them pay tribute, and having sit-ins with members of Kiss and Guess is appealing. It just seems a little bit disingenuous for that to be a marquee item on a Kiss cruise after all that bad blood and things said. It's impossible for me to separate my emotion from that. Night Ranger, again, there's history, there's Kisstory there, going back to the Creatures tour. Bruce, I disagree with Mark a little bit there, because I think Bruce has the scope now to pay tribute to Bob. So that brings in the Alive 2, Unmasked, and Kiss Killers into the picture, because he's also competing with Quarantine, who touch on that 80s, Kiss cheese, which is problematic. Slaughter, history with Kiss, opening for them on, Hot in the Shade tour, Faster Pussycat, Revenge tour, Lonnie? was.
Yep.
That Keel aside. Did they open for? I don't think Keel ever opened, but Gene obviously did produce.
Yeah.
Well, Keel was still around.
Yeah, enough's enough. That's one I never got that whatsoever. And we're down to one tribute, which is I think that's a little bit of a shame when there are still so many tribute bands, but at least I think it's a different one.
It is. Unless you're Mr. Speed.
It was Mr. Speed, and it was Billy Mays band last year. So School of Rock, there's more effort and thought put into this than there was last year. It was ready to go. Daniel, thought on all of those other things, since the last time you spoke?
Well, I think for me, I would always obviously be focused on the Kiss stuff. I'm not into Night Ranger or Faster Pussycat or Slaughter, but well, I think the main thing with events like this these days, we've said this a lot of times, but it has to be said, is the companionship among Kiss fans. I mean, that's the most fun these days, to meet and talk to other guys. And since we've been on the podcast, you have sort of, you meet people who enjoy the podcast as well. I think that's another thing that adds when you are attending events, Kiss events, that you can speak to people and they thought of, they know you, they know who you are and they want to talk about, certain issues. And I like the whole camaraderie thing. That's the main thing. Yeah. But a Bruce Kulick show, I would love to see that. I've never seen Bruce Kulick live, so that would be awesome. And all these tributes, I'm in for that as well. I like Kiss tributes. I think that Mr. Speed thing works really well. It was a bit unfortunate they didn't add that band once again. I think they do a great job. And attending question and answer, that's cool as well. So I would have a ball attending this thing, but it's way too expensive. That's the problem. It's way too expensive. I mean, if I would say what it costs to go to a Kiss Expo in Sweden, it would blow your mind, in comparison.
Yeah, just think if you're booking airline tickets now with the current jet fuel issues. I have travel booked, and it was booked before any of that crap hit the fan. So I'm just thankful that I haven't so far had any emails saying you're going to have to pay double because fuel costs have increased. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a success. It's gonna be discussed. We're gonna watch all the YouTube video that comes out. Everything we can get our dirty little mitts on, we're gonna consume from afar. But I think that again, it goes back. We always say this about these events. It's the people. And we're not talking about the people who are on that graphic there. It's the people who are tuned into this show right now. It's about our fellow fans. It's about our friends. It's about our frenemies. It's the people thing that has become so much more valuable in a sense. You're paying for the privilege of having an excuse to bring together people from all over the world. And that's something that you really can't put a price on, because that is what people, I think, get more out of it, going as a group to these events. I've seen Sylvie in the comments going. I saw the excitement on Facebook when a bunch of folk, booked their tickets. They're like, I'm in. I got what I wanted. I'm going. I'm excited. And most of them said, I'm going to see so-and-so and so-and-so. And that was more what it was about. There was no, I can't wait to see Faster Pussycat. It's like, I'm going to see so-and-so because they're going as well from Australia. And, how often does this happen? So it is about the people.
This is a 3-day thing. I mean, I suppose if they did a 2-day, it could have lowered the prices. And maybe it would have, and have a few less of these other bands in there too. That could have also, made it more, I don't know, a better pricing kind of situation for people that cannot, who would like to go but cannot because of the pricing. So that's something maybe they could think about in the future, but maybe it's going to, maybe it'll sell out fine. This graphic, I just want to say, this graphic that they use, I got to tell you, those icons that they use, the 4 icons that they keep using, I just never liked them. I can't stand them. So that's why on my graphic, I put the 4 kind of rock and roll over things on mine. Plus, you notice on the side of the ship, they do have a little rock and roll over album, graphic on the one side. So it's going to be, they're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Rock and Roll Over. The box is going to be coming. Yeah, it hasn't been announced, but it's like to me, it's a done deal.
You think so?
I do.
The ever optimistic Ken.
You gotta love him. He's consistently hopeful.
Yeah.
Delusional.
Yeah, that's true.
Ken always wants more, especially if it comes with a T-shirt.
Give me more.
Give me more.
Give me more. Here you go.
Give me more.
There we go. All right, there we are. Again, it's going to bring people together. It's going to be a success no matter what. There's no reason to subsidize it. Whether you're going to a Peter Criss signing, I think he's got a signing today in New Jersey or Detroit, you still get that people component out of it. You got to take the opportunities where you can. I am a strong advocate of saying, and while I only did 1 cruise and that was enough for me, you really got to take these opportunities so that you don't have any regrets at the end of the day, because they are a heck of an experience, and there may be the last one. You just never know what's going to happen down the road, whether it's going to be possible for there to be more. So take those opportunities, enjoy them, and don't let anyone tell you that you're wrong. Make the right decision for you and screw the rest of them, because that's what it's about. What makes you happy? All right. That, I think, is enough for one show. So for now, we want to thank everyone who's chimed in with your comments during this episode. Really appreciate you. If you're listening to this episode after, mash that like button and subscribe. It does help us fight the wars against the algorithm, which is quite a battle at the moment. But there we are. But for now, from Lonnie, from Ken, Mark, Daniel, and myself, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the message board and discuss the topics we've broadcast today. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you've listened to this show, and a like would very much be appreciated. We hope you'll join us again, but until then, remember, life's a radio. Turn it up to 10.